Nobody saw it coming. Not the commentators. Not the analysts. And certainly not the world number one. When Eala stepped onto the court to face Aryna Sabalenka, the picture seemed straightforward. On one side, a reigning powerhouse, dominant, battle-tested, and ranked at the very top of the sport. On the other, a young woman with something to prove and nothing to lose. Power against precision. Experience against hunger. What followed wasn't just a tennis match. It was a moment, the kind that shifts the conversation, resets expectations, and reminds everyone watching exactly why they fell in love with this sport in the first place. Eala didn't just show up. He showed out. And when it was over, the court fell quiet for just a second before the crowd found its voice, because what they had just witnessed took a moment to fully register. This wasn't an upset in the traditional sense. It was an arrival, a declaration made not in words but in every serve, every return, every point fought for and claimed under the brightest lights the sport has to offer. The cameras caught all of it. Every swing, every stare, every moment she refused to blink. The analysts will spend days breaking it down. The commentators will search for the right words. But anyone who watched it live already knows, something changed on that court. A new name is being spoken differently now. And the women's game will not look quite the same going forward. Eala just made her statement. The world heard it loud and clear. She represents something that has broken players before the first ball is even struck. Pure, suffocating dominance. Raw strength married to relentless aggression. A game built to overwhelm and a presence built to intimidate. Her serve lands like a missile. Her ground strokes hit with the kind of weight that rattles confidence and forces errors from players who, on any other day, are perfectly capable of competing at the highest level. For years, opponents have walked onto that court already carrying the weight of what's coming. The statistics, the rankings, the reputation. By the time the warm-up ends, some players are already half defeated in their own minds. Sabalenka has that effect. She has earned it point by point, tournament by tournament, title by title. But Eala walked out there with a completely different energy. She wasn't there to manage the moment. She wasn't there to hang in, hope for mistakes, and survive as long as possible. She wasn't intimidated by the reputation, the ranking, or the noise surrounding her opponent. She came onto that court with a clear and singular purpose, to change the story that everyone had already written before the match began. Where others saw an obstacle too large to clear, Eala saw an opportunity. Where others felt the weight of the occasion pressing down, she used it as fuel. And where others arrived to compete, she arrived to win. That difference in mindset, quiet, steely, and completely unshakable, would end up making all the difference. Where Sabalenka brings fire and noise, Eala brings something quieter, and in many ways, far more unsettling for an opponent. She doesn't scream after winners. She doesn't perform for the crowd or wear her emotions on her sleeve. She calculates. She absorbs. She studies every rally as it unfolds, filing away information in real time. A slight hesitation on the backhand, a predictable pattern on big points, a fraction of a second where the defense opens up. Nothing escapes her attention. Nothing is wasted. This is the part of Eala's game that casual observers tend to overlook. They see the talent, the athleticism, the clean ball striking. What they miss is the mind working behind all of it. Methodical, patient, always thinking 2 or 3 exchanges ahead while her opponent is still reacting to the last one. She doesn't panic when the pressure builds. She doesn't tighten up when the moment gets big. Instead, she does something that separates truly elite competitors from everyone else. She adapts. Mid-match, mid-set, mid-rally. She reads what's in front of her and adjusts without hesitation and without drama. That composure is not accidental. It has been forged through years of competition, through losses that taught her more than any victory could, and through a genuine understanding of the game at a level most players her age haven't reached yet. And that is precisely what makes her dangerous. Not just the weapons she carries, but the intelligence behind how and when she chooses to use them. By the time an opponent figures out what she's doing, Eala has already moved on to the next plan. Here's the rewrite. The opening games played out exactly the way everyone expected. Sabalenka was in full control, blasting winners from all corners of the court, feeding off the crowd's energy, and moving the scoreboard quickly. It looked like the match most people had anticipated. Dominant, one-sided, over before it really began. But then something shifted. Eala stopped trying to meet power with power. That battle was unwinnable and she knew it. So she changed the terms entirely. She began redirecting angles, slowing the tempo down, and pulling Sabalenka into longer, grinding rallies that stripped away the rhythm her opponent feeds on. Instead of trading blows, she started dictating the conditions of the fight. And that's when the cracks began to appear. Sabalenka's frustration, usually buried beneath an iron competitive focus, started creeping to the surface. The cameras caught it all. The heavier breathing between points. The eyes drifting toward her coaching box, searching for answers. The small but telling shake of the head after rallies that should have been finished but weren't. The body language told the story clearly. This was not going according to plan. Eala had done what very few players are capable of doing against the world number one. She had taken away her comfort. She had disrupted the patterns Sabalenka relies on and replaced them with uncertainty. And once doubt enters the equation at this level, even the most dominant player in the world becomes vulnerable. The momentum had quietly, almost invisibly, begun to turn. The power was still there. Sabalenka's ball was still heavy, still fast, still dangerous. But something equally important had disappeared entirely. The patience was gone. Unforced errors began stacking up. Shots that had been landing cleanly an hour earlier were now clipping the tape or sailing wide. The margins that elite players protect so carefully were slipping away point by point. Sabalenka's shoulders tightened visibly. Her movement, usually so explosive and purposeful, started to look heavier. The fluidity that makes her so difficult to play against was being replaced by something unfamiliar. Hesitation. Eala, meanwhile, looked like a completely different kind of player operating in a completely different state of mind. Focused. Relentless. Every time Sabalenka tried to shorten the points and force quick exchanges, Eala extended them. Every time Sabalenka rushed, looking for the fast finish, trying to recapture the rhythm she'd lost, Eala made her pay. She read the urgency in her opponent's game and used it against her, turning Sabalenka's impatience into free points with a composure that was almost unsettling to watch. The cameras kept returning to Sabalenka's face. The frustration was no longer hiding beneath the surface. It was written clearly across every missed forehand, every failed attempt to wrestle back control. The jaw set tight, the eyes hard and searching. This wasn't dominance anymore. The match had transformed into something else entirely. What Sabalenka was experiencing now, in front of a watching world, was pressure. Real, suffocating, relentless pressure. And it was coming from the player nobody had expected to apply it. The stadium went silent. The kind of silence that only arrives when everyone present understands the weight of what they are about to witness. Sabalenka stepped up to the line and did what she always does under pressure. She went for it. A massive serve, full commitment, no hesitation. The kind of delivery that has ended countless matches and broken countless opponents. Eala blocked it back. The rally began. 3 shots, 5 shots, shots. The crowd barely breathed. Every exchange felt enormous. Every ball landing with the significance of everything that had led to this single moment. And then Eala opened up the court and drove a cross-court forehand into the corner. Clean. Unreachable. Perfect. Game. There was no screaming. No collapsing to the ground. No wild sprint around the court with arms outstretched. Just a quiet fist pump. Controlled, deliberate, and somehow more powerful than any dramatic celebration could have been. Because it fit perfectly with everything that had come before it. The whole match had been played exactly this way. Measured. Intelligent. Composed. This wasn't a victory born from anger or the burning need to prove something to someone. It was something rarer and more impressive than that. It was revenge with composure. Vindication delivered without losing herself for even a single moment. She had taken on the best player in the world and dismantled her. Not with noise, but with clarity. And that quiet fist pump said everything words never could. This moment was never just about beating a top player. It was about proving something that goes far beyond a single match result. That discipline can dismantle chaos. That patience, applied with enough precision and belief, can neutralize raw power. That a player who refuses to be intimidated, who walks onto the biggest stage and competes on her own terms, can change the outcome that everyone else had already decided. Eala proved all of it, point by point, rally by rally, in front of the entire watching world. And if this is what the future of women's tennis looks like, the rest of the tour needs to pay serious attention. 'Cause something has shifted. The player who was once discussed as a promising prospect, a name to watch somewhere down the line, a talent that might eventually develop into something significant, that conversation is over. It ended on that court. What replaces it is a different discussion entirely, one spoken with urgency and respect and a growing sense that the landscape of the sport is quietly being rearranged. Eala is no longer arriving. She has arrived. She is no longer building toward her moment. She is in it, fully and completely, and she looks entirely comfortable there. She isn't chasing the spotlight anymore. She's taking it, calmly, deliberately, and with the kind of quiet confidence that suggests she has no intention of giving it back. The tour has been put on notice. And something tells you this is only the beginning of what she has planned.